You are listening to the sweet sounds of Ageplay Confidential, a show that talks about anything and everything age play related. I'm your host, Super B. I could do that intro many different ways. I could do it in a morning zoo disc jockey voice. Let's see, how'd it go? Hey, welcome back to Ageplay Confidential, a show that talks about anything and everything age play related. I'm your host, Super B. Sound like Sideshow Bob there for a second. Anyway, welcome to the show, ladies and germs. Pleasure to meet your acquaintance. I am here in my living room. My cat is sitting next to me on the chair as I record my podcast. And very happy because my birthday's coming up very, very soon. Very, very soon. And I'm excited because I'm going to celebrate it out. Well, I'm going to go somewhere. I'm going to say what it was. I'm going to keep that private. But I'll give you a hint. It's in a place that's warm. Ooh, well, that could be any place, right? How about we narrow it down? It's a dry heat. Oh, well, that eliminates a whole bunch of humid areas. And it's out west. And it's very beigey. I think that gives you plenty of clues out there. But anyway. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to get some color. I need it. For I was stuck indoors most of last summer, all of last summer. I could not go outside. My body was too frail. I couldn't. I was too weak and frail, and I think the sun would have, like Dracula. Can't see the sun. Blah, I'm going to stay inside. The sun's going to kill me. Blah. But now I'm like Superman. And I need the sun to get my strength back. A little vitamin D. D's nuts. Just kidding. No, but I do need to get tan because I think the sun will do me good. It'll seriously, like... when I need the sun and you go outside and you just feel it's like you're getting charged up again almost. Then it gets a little too much when it gets too hot, But dry heat, they say it could be like 100 degrees, but it's like 87 over here, because it's humidity. Oh, you gotta watch out for the humidity. All that old person talk, right? You get to a point in your life where the conversation's always like, oh, the weather is just, I went to this restaurant. Like when you get old, you start talking about food a lot because like what you ate is like, oh my God, I went to this place, this Italian joint down there and they got the best gabagool, like saying, so it's like, anyway, anywho, so that's what I'm doing, going to have some fun in the sun. Some color, and I'm very happy about that. And so I guess we should just get into the show, shan't we? Today's episode is something that it's what plagues us all when we have this secret of age play, and that is telling our significant other, telling our spouse, our boyfriend, girlfriend, friends with benefits, or what have you, right? It's just like, it's so nerve-wracking, and a lot of people out there in the world keep it to themselves. And they live like that. And those people are extremely frustrated. Extremely frustrated because their deepest, most desires are being held back. They have a fear of shame, and they don't understand that this isn't a bad thing, right? They're struggling inside to find the courage to either, try to get rid of the feeling, but we know that's not going to happen, especially if it's factory installed, right? If it's from birth, you have this thing, like me. I knew when I was 5 that I loved diapers, and so people know from early on. And also from early on, you kind of know that it's not something that you're supposed to do because you'll see it on TV. You see it portrayed a certain way, and it's always negative. It's always negative, negative, negative. And it's always a fat old guy wearing a freaking fold up diaper with a freaking 1950s baby bonnet and a big safety pin across the front. Your traditional Halloween bullshit baby outfit, whatever. But anyway, so it's hard. It's hard. And a lot of people, they will keep this a secret. And there's a bunch of reasons. Fear of judgment. It's taboo. Let's face it, age play is taboo. And we all kind of feel like we don't want to be judged, or misunderstood, ridiculed. We don't want to share that if that's what the outcome is going to be. What if your significant other thinks negatively of you? And the problem is, you don't want to kind of damage the relationship, because I think when you divulge that information, that's make or break, I guess, or something. It's like, okay, and this is the hard part, because especially if you weren't upfront with them from the beginning. That's why I always say, like, it's good to get it out early on in the relationship. How early depends on how fast your level of comfortability progresses with this person, right? Like it depends. And for some, it could be like, right off the bat. For some, they need to know you, to understand you, so that when you break the news to them, it's not as bad. But I think it's just going to be bad all around. Call me Mr. Negativity. Ay, ay. But again, I'm just trying to, you know, I'm trying to discuss something that maybe I'm not 100% familiar with, because I did tell my ex while we were dating, 3 months into it, and she ended up marrying me anyway. I think she thought this would be a phase that I'd grow out of it, but it never happened. So that kind of contributed to it, a lot of stuff, but whatever. But again, my fault was lack of communication, right? And that's another problem here we're talking about. We talked about the shame and the embarrassment. There's going to be misunderstandings. They're going to people are going to think the worst thoughts about you, because they're going to associate diapers with what? Right? Exactly. And those closed-minded people won't want to hear you out, right? It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. And so, like, when you're in a relationship, it's like, okay, like, how do you talk to this person? How do you tell them your deepest, darkest secrets, and how are they going to take it? And that's what holds a lot of people back, that fear of not knowing. And that's scary. Oh my gosh. It's very scary, you know? But I guess it really depends on your relationship with your significant other, because everyone is unique, And not everybody will respond to the same way of breaking the news. I'm sure there's a good way. I'm sure there's a bad way. And no matter what way you present it, it might not be any good for anybody that's vanilla. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't matter how good you present it. It's just still might be way out there for some people, right? And you know, I'm of the type of people that if you love somebody so much, quote unquote, if you're like soulmates, I'm doing air quotes here, that you do whatever it takes to make them happy. Their happiness is your happiness, right? If her pleasure is my pleasure, if she was into something that maybe it wasn't my thing, and but it makes her fucking happy, well, by golly, I'm going to learn how to do it really well for her because I love this person and I want to see her happy. And then on the flip side, I would hope she would reciprocate. Otherwise, fuck that shit. Fuck that shit. I'm going to do what it takes to make my spouse happy, my partner happy. If they do not want to reciprocate the effort, and please, guys, don't fall into that either. Okay, let's not fall into that. But you know what? It's like you have to now, when you think about telling your significant other, now you have to sit there and you have to not blindly go into it. You can't. You have to sit and think about it long and hard. Make a pro and cons list. What are the pros? What are the cons of telling your spouse? Pros, let's see. There's an increased level of trust and openness, right? Because you're sharing something extremely special and personal. And now you're opening up, you're trusting this individual with this information. And if it's somebody you love, that person should take that information and learn and ask questions. That's how I feel anyway, you know? And it might, sharing it might deepen the trust in your relationship, you know? And it shows that you're willing to be a little vulnerable and honest. That might strengthen your bond. Now, I'll admit that, the vulnerable part might be more beneficial for the women, because I think it's a lot easier for a woman to be in that submissive role and all that stuff. So, but for us guys, it's a little bit more difficult. So this is, but there's a potential for understanding, and maybe understanding your reasons why you want to wear diapers. you know is it for comfort, is it for relaxation, is it a kink? you know and they might be able to empathize, provide maybe a little bit of support. Maybe that's a pro. It could happen. And you know what, maybe there's an opening there for some sort of mutual exploration, right? Especially if your spouse is open-minded. This can maybe be a chance to explore. Maybe they were waiting for you to say something because maybe they got something. Again, you scratch back, I scratch yours. I'll do your kink, you do mine. And fuck, man, it could be something great to experiment with your significant other. Who wouldn't want that? And you risk not knowing if you keep it to yourself, you see? Okay? So there's another good pro. There's also, for sure, there'd be like a relief. Like a weight is off your shoulders, right? Because now your significant other knows your deepest, darkest secret, and then everything else is just fluff, right? And that's all that I would need to hide from anybody that I would end up dating. Like, The only reason now I wouldn't do one of those phone swaps with a vanilla partner, it's not because I'm talking to other girls. It's because I got a lot of pictures that'll, make people's heads spin. And I don't need them to see that. Otherwise, take my phone. I got nothing else to hide. But if you tell them this side of you, that whole thing that's been balled up inside is gone now. And they know, right? Whether the outcome is positive or negative, now they know. And now you can move on to the next part, whatever it is. Do you see what I'm saying? So you'll have a relief, and that would be another pro, I would say. And I think communication, better communication, that would mean you telling them is like, here, I'm communicating with you, sweetheart, that I'm into this. And, that might open up more of your confidence and courage to talk about more of this stuff. Or on the flip side, maybe he's going to be more open to talking to you about stuff that's been bothering him or whatever. Maybe things that he likes, But remember, tit for tat. He scratches your back, you got to scratch his, or vice versa. Because that's what a good relationship's all about. Now, those are nice pros, but we got to talk about some cons, right? It's not all hunky-dory. I'm running out of ideas, but of course, there's the fear of rejection. Number one, first and foremost, is the fear of rejection. Nobody wants to get rejected, and to get rejected for this would be devastating, because it's so like you're throwing it away because of this. Really? Like, I'm perfect in every other way, but you're going to throw it all away because of this. Right? And that's the rejection, because it's happened, ladies and gentlemen. It happens all the time. Plenty of times. Listen, I've told 3 of the vanilla girls that I've dated, and they have all ended very soon after divulging that information, and that's fine. And again, at the end of the day, it's fine. It happens. But I'm already equipped to deal with it. So that part for me is gone, right? Because at this point in my life, I'll be upfront and honest. There's really nothing for me now. It's like, if you think it's weird, then it's on your head, not mine. Whatever. You just don't want to learn. You just don't want to understand, and off you go. I don't need to be with somebody like that, right? So anyway, another con by telling your significant other is that now there might be a strain in your relationship, as if it wasn't already there, right? I mean, if we're getting to the point where you're kind of trying to outweigh the pros and the cons of telling your significant other, I think you're already struggling with the fact that, you desire this and you want it, right? But them not understanding will now then put a strain, because they don't understand, or maybe they don't want to try. And you're hoping that they try to understand. They ask questions and, maybe engage and learn more, because now they just found out something very important that you told them. This is very important to me, blah, blah, blah. And then they take that, and if they heard you, and they heard you say it's important to you, then they'll make an effort. The true real people that care for you will make an effort to try to understand and try to work something out. I think that's a healthy relationship. But let's be real, not everybody thinks that way, and that's the thing you got to think about, right? You don't want to be embarrassed. Maybe, right? Maybe there's some shame associated with it. There would be. Right? And sharing that with somebody, it could be, it could be an uncomfortable conversation. Well, it's going to be an uncomfortable conversation, right? And you're already nervous and probably stumbling upon your words, telling this person that you love so much, what you're into, praying that their response is going to be good. But there is that embarrassment and shame, and that shows too, you know. I say go into it very confident and be nonchalant about it and be like, yeah, I like this, and so what? Make it work. Shame them into liking. No. So, so now, you know, what happens if your significant other doesn't accept it or doesn't understand your needs, right? Now that's going to cause conflict. It's going to cause resentment. And then you might start thinking about compromise, right? And then, you know, we all know when we compromise with somebody, we get the shorter end of the stick. We don't get what we really want because you compromise to something so vanilla, right? You water it down so that it's vanilla enough, but still on the verge of kinky for you for it to work. And that don't work. I've been there. I've been there. It's not fun. And it's not fun listen, it's not fun having this and telling them this and being open and honest and them not giving a shit, them not bringing it up, them not doing anything during sex and saying, hey, what can I do? Let's do something, you know, to make you happy. Come on, man. I always thought that's kind of shitty of a partner, you know. You gotta help if you like the person, you're with them thick and thin, and if they like some kinky shit, well, man, just it's between you two anyway, behind closed doors. Nobody has to know. It could be just you two, and that's what it's supposed to be, between you two, you and your significant other, enjoying it, being kinky together. It's a shame most couples don't. Most couples don't, but there are some that, God bless you, you guys found you found the right person. They have the right attitude, the right ideas and thoughts and processes that you like, and you guys met, and it works, and it can work. Good communication results in a better relationship, I'd say, you know. So I guess when you're thinking about telling your significant other about this, you have to take a few things into mind when you make your decision, because you're gonna have to make a decision, right? But how well do you know your spouse, your significant other? You know, how well do you know their openness? You know, if you think your significant other is open-minded and you've seen it, and maybe you can kind of get an idea of where the conversation might go, right? You got to think about that. You got to be smart about it too, you know, and also how you approach it. When I told my ex about it, we were 3 months into dating. I kind of went about it like, well, you see, well, I kind of like this thing, and it's kind of like, you know, it's weird, and it's, you know, like, so I'm already painting a negative picture of it, right? Instead of talking it up like it's the shit. Like, okay, well, let me tell you what I'm into, and you got to hear me out, okay? Don't knock it if you try. You know, I'm sure there's a better way of saying it, but I'm into this. I like wearing this, and keep it at that. You know, not going to the baby shit. You know, whatever. But just I like wearing it. It makes me feel good. It's comfortable. Blah blah blah. Whatever. And nonchalant, like you don't give a fuck, and you shouldn't, because if they say, "Well, that's not for me," well, toodaloo, honey, because I can't be with somebody who's not gonna accept it. It ain't gonna work. It ain't going to work. So how you approach it is also very impossible. Think about it. Think about the approach. Think about the person you're gonna tell and how they're gonna react. Are they a pleaser? If they're a pleaser, then maybe this will be a little easier than you thought. You know what I'm saying? But if they're just assholes, then fuck, you know, you're in a tight spot there. I gotta say, you know, and you gotta know when to say it. You can't just say it don't say it at the wrong time. Obviously, you gotta pick the time when it's right, and when that is, who the hell knows? You know your significant other better than anybody else, right? You would think. And so bringing it up at the right appropriate time, you know, it is probably good. You know, maybe you're discussing kinks. Of course, that's when you'd bring it up. If especially if they ask, well, what kind of kinks do you have? Why keep it from them at that point? If they come out and ask you, you know, what vanilla person's going to ask you that? I say a kinky person would ask you what kinks you got, or someone who's played around. I think. I mean, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, you know, those are the things you need to consider before you divulge that information. How well you know your partner, how you're going to approach it, and when to do it, right? Pick the right moment, calm, private setting where you can talk openly. But at the end of the day, you know, if you're going to tell your significant other, it requires very careful consideration. Not only for your needs, but your partner's needs and their potential responses, right? And hopefully they're willing to approach it, you know, with a little bit of empathy and a willingness to listen, right? Because that's all you really want. A willingness to listen, to learn, to ask questions. And that's kind of where I'm at, you know. If I tell somebody, you know, it's almost, well, it's like the time the clock starts and go click, 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 click. You know, it's like the time is running out for the thing. Maybe I sabotage some of my most recent attempts with vanilla women. I apologize, ladies. Hey, yeah, you know, I got to do it with this one broad, right? This one broad, she came over and she's like, hey, oh, look at my legs. And I'm like, damn, baby, them's on some stems. I'm just kidding. That's a old 1950s speak. I can go to 30, see? Talk like Muggsy, see? Look at you, lady. Come over here. Why don't you sit on my lap and we'll talk about it? Talk about whatever comes up. Anyway, so listen, guys. I know there's a lot of you out there that are struggling deeply with this secret, and some of you have probably had these feelings and went ahead and told your significant other, and for some of those people, your significant other understood and, you know, accepted it in some way or form and might have even started participating because, hey, it's not so bad after all. If it makes you happy, it makes me happy, right? You got those people. Then you got the people that, you know, you tell, and it's just like, well, I don't want you to do it in front of me. I don't care if you do it. Just don't let me see it. And I don't want to talk about it. So, like, okay, like that's kind of shitty right there, if you ask me. Ouch, I would say. Ouch, you know. No happiness in front of me, please. You know, keep that to yourself. Be miserable around me. Keep your happiness to yourself. Ew. You know, like. Now listen, look. I'm sure there's spouses, significant others out there that are creeps about it, right? And in those cases, yes, I would also be upset and peeved that you're, you know, whatever. But if it's a healthy, normal amount of time, it's like shit, you know. But that is that, you know. The struggle is real. and you kind of feel like you don't have an outlet. And that's why I'm here, ladies and gentlemen. Super B is here. I've been down this road before. I've had the negative experiences, and I've been in a marriage that didn't work. That she was vanilla, didn't like any of my stuff. She did participate for a little bit. God bless her, but it was really because, like most relationships, there might be some participation, and then it stops cold turkey. Does that sound familiar? Like, oh, I thought you were okay with it, but no, they were really never okay with it. They just kind of, anyway. Feel free to contact me, ageplayconfidential@gmail.com. Tell me your stories, please. I would love to hear your stories and talk about them. And I would love to hear your success stories and the failures. Because I think we should all know that if you have the courage enough to write your story down, I think it's a good way to let other people know that they're not alone, that we've all struggled with this secret that we are keeping from our friends and our family and our significant others. That's even the most part that hurts the most, is that a lot of us are suffering and we feel like there's nothing we can do about it. And there is something you can do about it, but sometimes you have to look at the result of that. And sometimes that might mean not being with that significant other. Or it could mean that maybe your bond gets stronger. Just listen, it's a crapshoot, to be honest with you. But if you know your partner, if they're open-minded, and you know your partner, and I guess at that point you can make the decision. It's a hard one. I think you can't deny your happiness, and for some of us, we'll hold on to it, and we'll just go on through life, and then you'll be on your internet and you'll be seeing these stories, posts, pictures, couples doing funsy, cutesy stuff, and it's going to eat at you because you're like, why can't I have that? Why can't I have that? Right? Why can't I have the imaginary blah, 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 blah? Remember, what you see online isn't always hunky-dory in those neck of the woods. You know what I'm saying? And you're not the only one that's struggling, though. I do too, But you let it, you grow, you learn from experiences, and you try to get strong and accept yourself. I've already accepted myself and all that stuff. So I'm not really, I'm like, and I don't give a shit mode anymore. Like, my happiness is my happiness. And if you can fit yourself into there, great, awesome. But I hope that you do tell your significant other. I think it's very important, especially if you're like thinking about getting married. Because once you tie that knot and you don't tell them, then there's where the shit starts going south. Because then maybe, maybe you're the type that needs to think about diapers, a scenario, something, while you're doing it with your significant other, because you can't get off any other way. Does that sound familiar? Yeah. Right? And those desires, you need an outlet for that. And it can lead down a shitty path. Trust me, I've been there. It's not fun. Where now you have to think, all right, I'm with somebody, but here I am texting this other dude who's into it, who understands me, who's, blah, 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 who's willing to meet up. And then, you get into something a little bit more deep, a little bit more concerning. And that's not healthy either. Like I said, I've been down that road before. So if you need some advice, please feel free to shoot me an email. ageplayconfidential@gmail.com. Send me your stories. I'd love to share them, both good and bad. And yeah, I definitely, um, I definitely recommend you go that route. But again, you guys are all adults. You guys do what you want. That is just my opinion, right? Better that it's out in the open. And then let the chips fall where they may. You might be surprised. You might be surprised. It might be the best decision you ever made. Or the worst. Gotta think the good and the bad. I want to give a very special shout out to potty training dropouts. Where's my phone? Hold on a second. I'm going to give a special shout out to these people because they sent me a bag of their wonderful, cutie, excellent Betty Buys. And I will be, you know, posting cute pictures of myself wearing these diapers. I'm actually wearing one right now. Very comfortable, by the way. And would you believe I have not used it yet? I'm just wearing it for funsies. It just sometimes I'll wear a diaper just to wear the diaper for fun because it feels good. And I won't use it. But I'll use this one. Come on now. I got to christen it, Got to do all that stuff. But potty training dropouts, they make a very cute diaper. If you haven't heard the word, they're the Betty Buys. They're the cute ones, with the moon and the little giraffe and everything on it. It's very cute. Very cute. It's cloth back, and it fits very well. I'm wearing a medium right now, and I can also do large. I'm right in the middle there. And these mediums are very good for going out under the clothes for me. I'm sure sizes will vary, obviously, but for me, if I'm going to go out and about and I'll be scooting around in a diaper, mediums are the way to go for these Betty Buys. But, when I am at home and wanting to be the big baby, then I go with the larges, because then you double that shit up. Now you got a big fat diaper, and now you feel like an extra baby. And who doesn't want to feel like an extra baby? I do. I know I do. But, and I'm sure all of you do too as well. So if you haven't tried them, I think you should. Betty Buys by Potty Training Dropouts. They do have an Instagram. Their Instagram is Potty Training Dropouts, one word. Potty training just wasn't for us. New kids in the neighborhood. May 2024. That's when they, started. So let's give them their support, and hopefully they come up with a new design soon. And I'm sure whatever they come up with, it's going to be super duper cute. Anyway, thank you for joining on this very special episode of Ageplay Confidential. I hope my words help in some way or another, right? Maybe, I'm just here to help. I'm a friend. I want to be a friend of the community and give back in some way. And if this helps, great. I'm glad. And if you need some advice, you feel free to email me, ageplayconfidential@gmail.com. I wish I had a Twitter. I should make one. Or I should make an Instagram. I don't know. I do have my Instagrams. I'll keep those, hush hush. You're smart enough, you'll find me. Especially on FetLife. There's your first hint right there, FetLife. Now, some people know my full screen name on FetLife. It's very simple. It's a variation of what I call myself here. I'm calling myself a shortened version, Super B. The real name is Super. Just can't tell you. You have to find out for yourself. You know what it is. Let's be real. Come on. Anyway, I am going to edit this and I'm going to post this tonight, April 8th, 2025. Thank you for joining me yet again on a wonderful episode of Ageplay Confidential. Your support is greatly appreciated. I don't really say this, but please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, do all those bells and whistles so that I get a little traction. I am climbing on my follower count, and I'm very happy, and I will continue to do so. Regardless if you follow me or not, I'm just going to do it anyway. And I'm going to give back to the community. So stick around. There's more coming from your pal Super B. Not right now. Not stick around now. But stick around in the coming months. That's what I meant. Stick around. Right? Just let's be. There's no part 2 here tonight. I'm going to eat a little bit more because I am starving. I got some cold cuts and some Italian bread waiting for me. I'm going to make myself a good sandwich, Maron. And we'll talk to you next time. Ciao, babe.